Starting my speech in 3, 2, 1. Proposition has identified a real crisis and offered a solution that sounds like a relief. We are here not to dismiss the real crisis that's happening, but we are here to name what they've actually made. They've actually just not made a ladder, but they've made a new trapdoor with the government seal on it. Our stance is precise. The barriers this family face is not a temporary liquidity problem that they can just solve by borrowing money. It is a structural risk problem in a generally uncertain economy nowadays. And loading that uncertainty into an 18-year-old from a low-income family is not compassionate. It is a financialization of desperation. We win on three things. First, the proposition's mechanism is architecturally incompatible with Indonesia's economy. Secondly, it harms the exact student it claims to help. And third, our direct subsidy model delivers every benefit they promise without a single rupiah of student debt. So, I'm going to disprove that their payment model does not work in Indonesia. Proposition's entire architecture rests on one assumption that they never defended, that graduates enter a formal, traceable employment. However, in Indonesia, the statistics shows that over half of workforce operates informally. Gig workers, market traders, and warung owners. These are disproportionately the children of the families they claim to help. When a loan-funded graduate enters informal work, which is statistically likely outcome from this stats, the proposition faces an inescapable dilemma. Either payment becomes unenforceable and the government absorbs a catastrophic fiscal deficit, or the state deploys an aggressive debt collection against people with irregular, fragile income, driving them into poverty instead of trying to repay the money they've taken, trying to get a higher education. Proposition neither presents neither a solution nor any acknowledgement that it exists. And then the last part is that they model this based on Singapore, a country that is known to have more GDP per capita rate than Indonesia, and a country with a higher formal employment rate. You cannot borrow a mechanism without borrowing the conditions that make it work. Secondly, that the scholarship admission that they've made actually proves our case, not theirs. Proposition says that scholarships are limited and underfunded. We agree, but watch what they did with that admission. They use a government's failure to fund free education as a justification for making students pay through the debt instead. That is not a solution, that is an endorsement of the problem. And here is a deeper contradiction. The same government they admit has chronically underfunded scholarship is the same government they now trust to design and administer national loan system competently. That admission and that ask cannot coexist in the same speech. And then thirdly, they are just contradicting themselves. Proposition spent their speech telling you that these families are barely surviving. Their payment model then assumes the same family's children graduate into a stable, formal, well-paying job. That is not true. You cannot have both. Either families are financially fragile, in which case the debt risk is real and dangerous, or graduates reliably enter formal employment, in which case the family never needed the help to begin with. On the bond, it does not close the wage gap, and the wage gap is what actually drives the brain drain. A graduate legally compelled to stay in a country gives domestic employers a captive workforce with zero negotiating and leverage. Wages get suppressed the moment the bond expires. These graduates leave faster, angry, and with more urgency than before. Proposition has not prevented brain drain. They have scheduled it to happen later on instead. And not only that, you're just basically limiting students that may have really powerful skill to work in the country instead of maybe going outside, having more connections and making more progress to help the world. So I'm going to argue that the loan mechanism will systematically exclude the exact demographic it claims to help. The family proportion is targeting the object driver father, the home business mother, the variable income week to week. When they evaluate the student loan, they are not being original. They calculate everything because they know that that graduate underemployment is real. They know informal work doesn't trigger repayment cleanly. They know one debt collection notice could destabilize their entire household. Research on developing economies consistently shows that lower income households opt out of educational debt instruments instead at higher rates than the wealthier ones, even when subsidized though. Families with the financial cushions take the loan and confidently and free up their capital instead. But families without cushions refuse the liability and stay home instead. Proportion has designed a system whose uptake mirrors the inequality it claims to fix. The rich students benefit and the poor students stay out. Under our model, direct UKT subsidized and need-based grants through the existing KIP Kuliah infrastructure, a vulnerable student enters university knowing that costs are fully covered. No contingency needed to be think of, no debt anxiety. You just need to focus on education instead. And note, if government can already fund students directly through KIP Kuliah, the loan mechanism is not filling an institutional gap. It is inserting a debt obligation into a pathway that could exist without one. And then I'm going to argue that loan funded demand without supply side reform will degrade Indonesian higher education, producing graduates with worthless credentials and administered debt and diminished debt. When you inject hundreds of thousands of loan-funded students into Indonesia's university system overnight, you create a demand surge institutions cannot absorb. Indonesia already faces acute shortages of PhD qualified faculty, accredited institution, and research infrastructure, especially outside of Java. Loan money does not build laboratories overnight. What it does overnight is fill lecture halls past their capacities. Universities respond by increasing intake, not quality. Class sizes may double, triple, or even more. Standards drop. Institutions becomes degree mills, sustaining enrollment, trying to get more loan revenue. 4 years later, a student from Kalimantan graduates with a degraded credential. The job market has already discounted and a payment obligation that he doesn't care. Proposition promises a higher education will increase productivity, innovation, and tax revenue. The theory is correct. However, it does not work if the education is actually not good. It's actually good. Debt financed expansion of degraded credentials does not build Indonesia's human capital. It builds on generation of overqualified, underemployment, indebted graduates and cause it progress instead. Judges, the parameters are simple. Proposition has number one defended why debt is better than grants. Why only that debt is better than nothing. There is no comparative, there is concession. We give you the same access, the same human capital development through a model that removes the liability entirely. At worst, ours requires political will. At worst, theirs creates a fiscal deficit and a generation paying for degrees that failed them. The floor of our world is better than the floor of theirs. So proud to oppose.